Okay, so you know what this is, right? This is a pen. Everybody knows that. So I have been talking about for I don't even know how long now, so long, about the power of owning your story and sharing stories. And we share stories because then we learn that we're not alone in our experiences and we're not alone on the planet. I talk so much about the power of writing your own story and picking up your pen and rewriting the story. I have been giving this talk for, I don't know, like 2 years now, right? And each time that I give this talk, there's another level that I understand in the power of taking up the pen and deciding that we get to write our story right now, today, in this moment, because we cannot change the past and we cannot predict the future, right? That's usually the consensus. Here's the thing, though. We can, to some degree, predict the future, because if I know that I'm practicing my alignment and I'm practicing being happy as much as possible, then it is like mathematically reasonable to believe that my future is going to be filled with happiness and gratitude and the things that I'm continuously practicing on a regular basis. If I work out consistently, then it is reasonable to predict that my future is also going to be healthy because I have these consistent healthy habits, right? You with me? Okay, good. So then I'm thinking about the past, right? And this just clicked in my head, and I knew this, but I never really got it in such simplicity until right now, and I wanted to share this with you. Here it is. Here it is. When we talk about writing our story and rewriting our past, here's the thing. We don't own a time machine, but essentially we do. Because when you think about the time-space continuum and the fact that all time exists right now in this moment. Everything that has ever happened to you since the moment you were born, everything that's going to happen to you exists right now in this moment. I'm not going to get crazy. We're not going to get all quantum physics-y, because people who don't understand this, they're like, their heads are already spinning. Don't get crazy. Just stay with me for a second. Everything that has ever happened to me, that I have ever experienced, and the way that I tell myself that I believe it to be, the perception that I carry about all those experiences are with me right now in this moment. We can all agree to that. But here's the thing. We can essentially rewrite our past when we change the way that we perceive those stories. Let me give you a quick example. I remember when I was younger, I always used to do the whole like, oh, woe to me. My father's not in my life. My father didn't raise me. My mom had these stepdads that came in and out of our lives, but they didn't really love us like that. They didn't really care about us. They weren't like loving and caring and all that stuff, right? So like, woe to me and the whole father story, right? Okay. So then as I became an adult, I became not trusting of men, and I had some stuff that I had to deal with from that perception. There was a time a few years ago when I realized that my birth father's job, this was when I went to visit him in prison, my birth father's one job was to provide the sperm so that I could have life. It was never his job to raise me. That's just not who he was designed to be, and it's also not the role that he was designed to play. And thank God, because if he had raised me, I can't even imagine who I would be or where I would be in my life or what my life would be like had he been the one to raise me. That was not his job. So when I finally released him of the expectations that I created and said, these expectations of you should have been X, Y, and Z, I released those. And when I released him and said he had one job and he did awesome at it. He provided the sperm, which made me have life, which means I'm here. Fantastic. He did his job. Once I released him of that, in this present moment, I could feel all those years of stories that I had told myself about the whole woe to me, my father wasn't in my life, change. They instantly started altering because I went back then and poured forgiveness and understanding and compassion and love all over that moment and that thought. And once I did, it created a ripple effect throughout years of thoughts. And then it was like all that time caught up and was like, zhoosh. And then now I'm here and I'm like, oh, when people talk about, oh, aren't you mad at your father? No, that wasn't his job. That wasn't his journey. His job was to provide sperm, and he did that. And then moving on. And then it provided freedom and fulfillment and love in this moment because I went back in time and rewrote the perception around that story, which then allowed my present self to catch up with millions of moments, right? Because I changed that story then. And you know, like if you see a movie and somebody gets in a time machine and they change one thing in the past, it has so many ripple effects that when they come back to the future or to the present, everything is different. It's like that. We have the capacity to rewrite our stories and to change the way we perceive them. And when we recognize that it is our jobs to validate ourselves, to love ourselves, and to take responsibility for our lives, to acknowledge that we're on a journey and so is everyone else, to acknowledge that we're doing the best we can with what we know how, and so is everyone else, including all the people from our past who may or may not have intentionally or unintentionally hurt us. When we pour over those situations and those stories, love and compassion, the understanding about the journey, the understanding that everybody's doing the best they can, what they know how, and then we truly free ourselves of the weight of the expectations that we created, it creates a ripple effect that happens in seconds and shoosh, catches up to the present moment, and then we find ourselves in a place of freedom. We can rewrite our old stories. We can change our future. We can change the present moment by rewriting the old stories, which again, going back to the beginning, is reasonable to believe that if I'm operating in a place of freedom and gratitude and understanding right now, and I continuously do that, that my future is going to be full of freedom and opportunity and gratitude and love. You see? You with me?